I identify as a lesbian Jamaican woman. It means like being able to be part of different groups but still being like yourself. I did a little at first just because in Hispanic culture, like being gay really isn't like open. People usually use it as like an insult. I am happier now as an adult that I've like come more into myself and accepted myself in like different aspects of who I am. And I think like for advice, I would just say to like keep going. Even though you think like you're not gonna make it, you'll eventually like come into who you are.
I identify as the first generation child of two Colombian immigrants, so I identify as a Colombian American woman of color. Basically, how all of your social and political identities come together to form the kind of experience that you have. I feel like I had a childhood that was different from a lot of people. For example, my parents were never able to be homeowners because my parents didn't have a legal status in this country. I feel like I had a hard time excelling in school when I was little because my parents weren't able to help me with my assignments. I was falling behind with writing and reading because I couldn't learn how to read a language that my parents didn't speak to me. Like, it was always up to me to help myself. Growing up with a family dynamic like this really makes you feel like you have to do well, like you have to succeed, like failure isn't an option. Like, okay, if I do badly, my parents' sacrifices meant nothing. I feel like right now immigration is a very timely subject, and it's only because of what's happening and because people's families are being separated and because of the current political climate. In that sense, I feel like we're being represented on the news, but it's not like we're being represented, it's like current events. I feel like a lot of people don't understand the type of pressure that comes with being first generation. I feel like, especially with my parents were just deported last year. I'm the only one who's left here, so at this point, it's like, okay, I really gotta do it.
I identify as a gay trans Latino man. To me, intersectionality is the way that multiple identities will overlap and affect someone's experiences versus if they just have identified with one social identity. %. In high school, I came out when I was 14. So in high school, I didn't use the male locker rooms at all until I was a senior because I felt extremely uncomfortable. And even then, I had like a horde of my friends surrounding me because it wasn't just me feeling uncomfortable. There's some harassment involved there. I've had multiple bosses who wouldn't be outwardly prejudiced, but they would treat me more coldly and change their behavior after they found out I was trans. Growing up, there weren't any trans characters in TV and movies, and when they were like the butt of the joke, or they were made out to be perverts. So it took a really long time for me to accept that I was trans because of that. It wasn't until like there was this like renaissance, I guess, of trans representation with Laverne Cox and Caitlyn Jenner when I was like 16. And people started to see representation more and more, but there's still barely any representation for trans men. There's zero for trans men of color. There's not a single trans male character of color in TV or movies, I think. It made it difficult for me to want to be a performer because I thought there'd be no hope for me. I thought no one would want to cast me. But I saw this year. There's a trans, deaf, male, Asian, Jewish actor who booked a big role on a CW show. And I'm like, just seeing that alone, even at my age now, has helped me a lot to gain the confidence to be like, oh, I can do this is possible. Totally, because At first, when I realized I was trans, I didn't accept it at all, and I think it's the lowest I ever was at my life. And then after I came out, I felt much happier. I felt like I could breathe, like I could have a sigh of relief. But even then, I wasn't completely at terms with being a man. I was like, I have to be super masculine or else this is fake. It wasn't until like really the past few years where I came to accept it, and I was like, oh, I can just be whoever I want to be. And now I feel free to like explore how I dress, how I present myself, how I act, my interests. I'm not afraid of being feminine now because I've accepted the fact that I'm a man, and that's become so freeing.